There's a virus that's attacking all clubs. Symptoms include heavy breathing, wild dancing. Oh my God, it's the Jack It Off Podcast, episode 43. I got it right this time. I did my research 5 seconds before we came on.
Yeah, but you always do.
I always do?
Don't
I always
you?
do my research? I don't know. Sometimes I don't remember what fucking episode it is.
You're right, you don't. Never mind. Forget it.
We're here. We're keeping it consistent just like we always do. Giving the people what they want, which is more of whatever this is.
Consistent podcast.
So, Christmas, Dylan, is just around the corner, and you know what that means? Lots of shit that I don't want to deal with. That's what's around the corner.
Yeah.
Nothing new though. Same shit every single year. What?
So you don't want to deal with anything,
dude. That could be the fucking title of my autobiography. Not wanting to deal with anything. The Brent Pickard story. Like this year, I feel like I literally sat down and I had to draw out a calendar of what it is that I had that I was available to do when like this. And I mean, I got it planned out from this Friday on to Tuesday. Like that's the scope of what we're talking about, because I'll get calls from my parents where it's like, "Hey, when are you coming down?" And then immediately the thought is, "Oh my God, I can't commit to anything to anybody right now." So I have to tell everyone for at least like 2 days. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to get back to you. So that I tell that to everybody. And then regroup, argue with Becky a bunch.
Sure.
As
is
get up in a huff. Huh?
As is tradition. It's about as tradition as putting the wreath on the door.
Yep. Get in a huff. Fucking have to do some chores. And then I call one of them back. That's what I always do. And usually I call my mom back. I don't call my dad back. I call my mom back. So when I call my mom back to figure out what it is that we're going to do, I kind of open it up like a bidding process, like Barrett Jackson auto auctions. So I'll open up the bid to me coming over for Christmas Eve and then leaving Christmas Day. Do I hear any takers on that? And then my mom will say, "Okay, that works fine. What time are you leaving Christmas Day?" And I'll say, "All right, I'm going to have to suspend the bidding and I'm going to have to call another one of the bidders." So then I get off the phone with my mom and call my dad. I'll say, "All right, listen. Now when I call my dad, I don't open up the bidding for anything. I ask him what the bid is.
What is happening? What is happening?
Right. That's the tactic.
Would you like to put in a bid for Christmas dinner at 3:00?
Exactly. So I'll call my dad. Now this year I made an egregious error. I didn't do that. What I did was I said, and I actually confused myself and flipped the previous bid around. So I said to my dad, "I'm going to come over Christmas Eve and then leave Christmas morning to my mom's." And I was like, wait a minute. I messed it up. So we got through that conversation. And I was like, "Oh my God, now I got to call my mom back because I have to verify that what I did was just correct because I can't remember." So I call this is over a couple days, not over like the span of like a few hours. Some of it was, but most of it was over a couple days. But so then Then I called my mom back and I was like, I might have just accidentally told my dad the wrong thing. Can you tell me what I'm doing? Most of the time I'm just asking people what I'm doing. It isn't a here's what I'm doing or here's what I think I'm doing. You need to tell me what I'm doing. So then she goes, "You're
Otherwise,
coming,"
you'll be
and
sitting
she
in that
knows
chair.
this. What'd you say?
I said, otherwise, you'll be sitting in that chair, not going anywhere, if you
Mm.
had the choice.
Oh my God. Well, okay, we'll get to that. So, uh, I call my mom back. I tell her, or I ask her what I'm doing, and she knows when I do this that I'm looking for like a 100% straight answer. Like, so she's like, "You're coming over here on Christmas Eve, and then in the morning we're gonna open presents, and then you're gonna go to your father's." And I said, "Okay, great, perfect. I'll call you back." And I called my dad. I said, "Dad, I fucked it up. I'm coming over. Uh, I'm coming over to mom's on Christmas Eve, and then in the morning I'm coming to you at around probably 11:30." He's like, "Okay, that's great. We can open up presents, all good, and everybody's happy." It doesn't always go like this. Years passed. I've gotten myself worked up into a fucking frenzy about how am I going to please my adoring public, the people that are forced to love me because they birthed me. And ultimately, I always
Shame
came to
for
the same
them.
conclusion. It's going to piss me off more than it pisses them off. So why am I even trying to fucking solve the problem? Ultimately, here's what everybody should know, not just me. Everybody should know that no matter what, if you're in a situation where, and it doesn't matter. It also comes to in-laws. I'm not just talking about a kid whose parents got divorced. I'm talking about somebody who just recently got married. This message applies to you, you sad sack. You fucking you. I feel sorry for you, you poor shit, because if you're all three of those things, it's even worse. I don't pity you. If you are a child of divorce, if you have friends that you actually like being around, oh, God help you. If you have
Cut those out first. Those are the first to go.
in-laws, if you have in-laws, oh boy, freshly married. Well, so that's the thing that anybody in that situation should also know is that the first thing that people start respecting when you get married is that you're married. That's the best part. It's the most amazing feeling in the world because it applies to everything. I could be at work. I could give you a phrase that all you have to do is swap out an arbitrary title for something that allows you to have tax breaks. And you get a different result, or at least you get a different perception. You still might not get a different result, but you're going to be perceived differently. The phrase could be anything from, I have to take Friday off because
I'm married.
my girlfriend has an art opening, right? That's one phrase, okay?
Sure.
The next phrase is going to be, I have to take Friday off because my wife has an art opening. Damn. Everything's changed. Just one word, Dylan, and everything gets flipped on its head. And it doesn't matter how newlywed, not newlywed you are. It gets better as more time goes on as you get older. I know that for sure because most of the people that I've worked with in the past and that I worked with now, when you pull the my wife thing,
Very nice.
people like there's something that goes off that's a little bit different in their brain. They're like all of a sudden overcome with some sort of like weird familiarity with that scenario. Unlike the girlfriend is just you could have been dating your girlfriend for 3 months or there's no context to that. There is no difference between somebody dating someone for 6 months to a year and getting married to someone who dated someone for almost 9 years and got married. The second get married, the same result always comes out. Everybody gets some sort of long life like sort of thing out of it, like some sort of weird context where like Becky and I have been what in some states would have been common law married for 8 years, but nobody knows her. I'm not going around saying that that's the case.
Wife.
But when you tell someone my wife, they're like, damn, that guy's put in the time. No, I haven't. It's been fucking like what, 3 months, 4 months? I mean,
2 months?
You know,
what month is it?
2 months? I mean, it was at the end of a month. So yeah. So, I mean,
you've been with her and not married longer. And you will.
It's going to take us forever to get to the point where we've been married longer than we've been together.
Yes, I was going to say it.
And so that's the funny part is that, so where I was getting to that in the context of the whole Christmas thing is that it's so funny because when we were together, especially over the past 3 or 4 years, there became a point like during like year like 1 through 5 where nobody has any expectations for what you're doing as a couple. That doesn't ever come into play. Nobody's mentioning things to you like, what are, I'm sorry, I didn't even think about it. What are you and Becky doing for the holiday? It mostly comes down to when are you, like if it's my family, when are you coming over for the holiday? And for Becky, when are you coming over to our holiday, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 singular units. But with the union,
Big U.
See? The big U, the union. All of a sudden, the conversation shifts to everybody giving you, and sometimes it almost seems like a lecture. It doesn't so much seem like an affirmation or a reassurance. It seems like it's like, Brent, listen, I know you're married now. That's how it always starts. It's like you kid, or they'll say you kids are married now. You need to think about what you're doing. This is a whole different chapter. It's like, I've been married for 2 months. I was still thinking I'm probably going to go home. Most of the people I know and love live 2.5 hours away from me. That's something that I'm never going to be able to escape. And again, and I think, and my guess is that, and this is the talk that nobody wants to have. Oh. The immense societal pressure by everybody in your life with marriage pales in comparison to the immense societal pressure of, you know what happens after marriage, right? Ha 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 ha. Look at me.
Death?
Look at my face. What happens after marriage for me is we get a bigger tax refund every year, hopefully, if we file jointly.
Got him.
That's it. And maybe some much needed respect from the people around me. That's what happens after marriage. I get to have better excuses to take the day off, and I get a tax break. That's marriage.
Oh, I thought it was death. Damn it.
Look, that's just one of the many perks, Dylan. One of the many perks that comes with knowing that your shit is like fucking chained to this forever is like, yeah, fucking when I fucking turn the lights out, boom.
I love the idea of that light switch where it's like you do the same thing every year. That's just how it has to happen. But the minute you're married, it's a whole other thing.
That's what
I like. Are you not?
I'm trying to illustrate.
Are you not gonna be home on Christmas, like there at some point? By the time you leave your dad's.
So. Oh, okay. This will help me also contextualize this a little bit. Um, we Becky got a call from her mom, um, asking
Say no
if
more.
I was available. If I was going to be available on the 22nd. Today's the 16th. The 22nd is Saturday.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I was like, no. I I've been I've been making the plan to come home regardless of what. I mean, I probably will not be home Friday night. That was the first thing that I thought, but I called my dad and I asked him what was going on, and he said, I'm gonna be at a holiday party Friday night, so we won't be home. I said, okay. So Friday night is out. It'll probably end up being like a Saturday morning. My intention was to come down, see you, hang out with you Saturday night or whatever,
Oh,
and then
don't be making
move
plans for
in.
me.
What?
Don't be making plans for me.
Dude, I've been making plans for you for fucking 13 years. So,
I'm more surprised you told me.
that it wasn't just me when I'm halfway down halfway down 90 being like, yeah, I'm hitting Herkimer exit. I'll be there in like 40 minutes.
Half the time, I just assume that
I'll
it's
be
like,
there
oh,
at
it's
some
Christmas.
point.
It's Christmas. Brent might stop over. I don't know.
Yep, that
I'll
sounds
be
right.
here, so he'll figure it out.
So that was like the tentative plan was like, okay, yeah, I'll head out Saturday, we'll hang out, and then Sunday, maybe the same thing. Maybe I'll go to my dad's like preemptively or whatever, and then kind of whatever, bounce back and forth. This is what always happens.
Oh shit, that's next weekend, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's next weekend, baby. It's coming up on us.
It's coming up on you. I'm ready. I'm ready. I got everything. I don't need any presents.
Dude, I don't got shit. I
I
have
did that
like
yesterday.
I feel like what I want to do more, and I just reminded myself of something. I literally found one of my old smartwatches.
One of the 100 that you bought,
Well,
thinking that they were
I
gonna be
have
the.
like I have like two kind of. Well, I have two and a knockoff fitness tracker.
I'm pretty sure you left one at my house and never took it back.
What the hell one was
Might
that
have been a
one?
Pebble or something.
Oh yeah, I probably did. I did buy a Pebble back in the day, but I think it was broken.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But the reason why I say this is because the gift giving season is always a sore spot, especially for a guy who literally had $30 left in his checking account on Friday after getting gas. So that's not great. The challenges of moving into an apartment where you have to pay for heat, Dylan, I can't stress this enough. Again, this is more of an advice column than anything else. Make sure you do your research, especially on your own finances. Get the spreadsheets out, get the Excel together, and try to do something. Because boy, it's a challenge sometimes to
You're gonna have
to make the ends meet.
You're gonna have to start keeping your PS4 and computer on.
For heat,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Just buy like Red Dead or something and just turn that on so your PlayStation does nothing but blow fans.
The yeah, that's the bitch of the whole thing is that I never had to pay. I never had to pay for heat before. And now I'm kind of just like, ooh, this is rough.
Stock
This is
up
not
on
fun.
blankets.
Yeah, electric blankets, shit like that. That's the investment.
Maybe I could find you a steel drum that you could put in your middle of your living room.
Merry Christmas to you.
Here's a steel drum. You already got your Christmas present. All right.
I did. I already got
Fucking
mine.
bastard.
I played it with you yesterday. The gift that keeps on giving. Check this out, boy. Look at that. Look at that deal right there. That smartwatch. It's one of those Sony ones from back in the day, the Android Wear ones.
Jesus Christ.
One of my coworkers gave it to me because he didn't even really like it. It's not bad. It's still quite a nice watch. It's got It's got Google Assistant on it and shit.
So, are you trying to tell me that we need to start a Patreon so you can afford your heat bill?
Look, if we got to start
Is it a
monetizing
is it
this
a
in some way,
Patreon
Dylan,
or a
I'm not gonna.
GoFundMe? What are we doing here? It's more of a
I
charity
want it to
thing.
be a Patreon, Dylan, because I want to provide people with amazing content.
So a GoFundMe.
No, Dylan. I want to give the people what they want. I want to create good content for the people. So I'll give them like an incentive. $5 a month gets them like, you know, something. We'll figure it out. But we got to actually make sure that like maybe like more than, I don't know, 100 people watch this at any one time. That's quite a monumental task. I do marketing for my own company, Dylan, and it's hard. It really is get the churn going, get the click farms going. It's hard.
We need those robots.
Look, I was at a marketing training seminar the other day, and our instructor was like, she said, if anybody at your job wants you to get more click-throughs on something, I want you to show them this. And she pulls up this website that's literally like one of those click farm websites.
Huh.
She's like, I want you to show them this, and then I want you to show them this. The next thing was an article about how that company was getting fucking shut down. And like a bunch of their information was like compromised. And they're like, if any of your employers want you to get clicks using something like this, like by these means, you need to show them this.
No, or don't.
I was like, duly noted. What's the name of that website again?
Yeah, I'm gonna need that. My information is shit. Whatever. What are they gonna do? Take out a credit card? Good luck.
Good luck. They'll just buy a bunch of V-Bucks for myself, and I'll end up yelling at a fucking guy for 2 days until I get it back. At least, actually, I won't even have to do that now because I've learned the ins and outs of that system. So I could.
You got all that information.
Whew, damn.
You got that Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, dude, I could fill all that shit out in 5 minutes. So, anyway, the what the hell was the thing I was talking about before that?
Some about your plans, the weekend.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, the general thing is gonna be fucking. So Monday's Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
Monday will be at my mom's, and then I'm gonna have to like fucking wake up in the morning. I'm gonna be the kid that wakes everybody. I'm 28, and I'm gonna be the kid that wakes everybody up in the morning. It's like, come on, let's get these fucking presents open.
Get up. Give me my presents.
I got places to be.
I need to go stop by Dylan's to get some bread and dip and then drive to my dad's.
I'm gonna run by your house. I'm gonna run in the door. You're gonna be in your underwear. I'm gonna grab a hunk off the fucking loaf of thing. I'm gonna take a huge dip of it, and I'm gonna give you your present.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and walk out the fucking door, and then get right back in my car, drive to my mom's. And then I still got my bread and dip. It's dripping all down the front of me. Walk in the door, I'd be like, all right, hang on, I gotta change my shirt. And then open up some presents there and be like, all right, I gotta get home, I gotta play with my toys. Let's get this fucking road on the show. That's the other thing too, is it's like, you know more than anything that when you're in, I know the big joke is always oh, I used to hate getting, that thing. I used to hate getting socks, but now as an adult, I love getting socks. Okay, that's true.
I can buy my own socks. If I need socks, I can go get my own socks. I'm not waiting for Christmas like, oh, here comes my socks.
I think the only reason why I play devil's advocate on that is because I got lots of other stuff that I want in my life. Most of it's frivolous bullshit. And to be honest with you, I think socks are the thing. I'll be walking around with holes in my fucking socks before I buy socks for myself. If it means that I'm going out there and I'm buying some bullshit fucking build it yourself Game Boy off of some Chinese website and bolting that bitch together. I mean,
I guess
there's any number of things. Especially in that high-end sock market. I've been looking at that. like that MeUndies market where they're making those like, making them high quality wool socks to last you a lifetime, like those darn tough socks. I've been looking at those. I've been trying to be more of a buy it forever type of person than buy it right now, because I know in the past I am the worst person in the world when it comes to buy it right now cheap versus buy it forever expensive. That's why, like, I've gone through 500,000 pairs of headphones until I've gotten to the pair that I have now, and I still have to improve them by getting the different ear cups. But what I know for sure is that when I spend the money on something, it's going to last. Or at least if it doesn't last, it's got interchangeable parts. That's the big key.
Yeah.
So it's like
I know.
all of a sudden, now that I
have,
touched this, it's
I
all
have
sounds weird now.
I have stuff with interchangeable parts too. My headphones are all interchangeable.
Yep.
Are the ear cups interchangeable on those?
Yeah, you can buy like I said, you can buy like XL, like the big.
No. Oh, sorry, not the cups. The actual
Oh, the
speaker.
metal plates on the
No,
the driver itself.
Yeah.
I think well, as far as V-Moda works, they're one of those companies that like they're like, we're gonna do anything we need to do to get these back. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have a extremely good like repair policy and everything. If something fails or whatever, you can. If it's not something you can replace for yourself, they'll do it within
Okay.
a really reasonable amount.
Well, the headphones I have, the I's, the I don't know even know how to say it. I just always say it like Alpha 5 from I. Yeah, you can change literally everything about them. So if anything goes in it, and
That's crazy.
I haven't done it, but I've had these for 3 years. I have to say at this point, I haven't changed anything in them, but the cord I just changed the cord once.
How long
and
did you have your Beats?
Usually like 2 years.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the thing is
I
that
had-
like they were all like
they started falling apart. Like the headphone, it's like the headband and stuff started actually falling
remember.
apart. So, like I had to replace the ear cups in them once, but that's like something you can do on those the Beats. But the other ones, yeah, the one pair I had, the headphone itself just started to deteriorate because I used my headphones every day for at least 8 hours at the least. So those ones, they actually just started to just break down, and then I got a new pair, and they started also to just there was like a cord showing that connected and like up towards the headband or whatever that shorted out, or so I got the IIIs, and they
never looked back.
Oh, the Beats weren't Beats anymore, really.
Well, that's the other thing is
They're
that
they're just fucking Apple products now. They're not even the same.
I never eat like to me, I think you should all. I mean, somebody who is into music and is into. I think I've always shorted myself. I shorted myself like 1,000 times, thinking that like stuff like this wasn't important, which is bullshit. The minute that I bought like my audio engine speakers for my desk, and the minute that like I bought at first the ATH quiet or the ATH QC25s, the noise canceling headphones that I have, or the Audio Technica ones. That was the moment where I was like, okay, now I kind of understand the high end audio space. Like there's a clear distinction between something that you're going to buy on an impulse that sounds okay. Like there's definitely value headphones out there that are reasonably comfortable and sound okay for most things, but most of the time you're going to get what you pay for with headphones. That's one of those few product categories where it's like there's probably 3 or 4, maybe I can count on one hand the number of headphones out there that are like less than $100 that are really worth it. Like and then that would be for somebody who just wants like good sound quality, maybe if they're wireless, good battery life or whatever. But for the person that spend so much time listening to audio, monitoring audio, playing games that you know what I mean? Like whether I'm plugging it into a DAC on my desk, I'm plugging it into my PS4 controller so I can get in-game audio plus chat audio. The fucking separation is the biggest part for me. Separation in a speaker or in a pair of headphones is like the most important piece. And I think most of the bullshit that I've bought in the past that's like in the, like I said, like the $40-$50 range or whatever, doesn't have the kind of separation that most headphones are muddy. That's the bottom line. When I put these on and I have something on, and it didn't necessarily have to be music, like I said, it could be like a game, like playing Duty last night and then having you over audio, I could never not pick you out, even in the craziest parts. Things are just spread apart in the channels, and you can hear perfect everything. It's got good balance, and it's a little bit bass heavy. The ATHs are a little more flat, but for flat with noise canceling, to listen to a fucking like podcast or some music like on a plane, like the response on those headphones is out of control. Like just how, like, I don't know how natural everything sounds. These don't sound natural. Let's make everything sound better, bigger, a little bit more like a little bit more everything sounds like super fucking vibrant on these headphones. Not true to life. The ATHs are the closest I've ever put on a pair of headphones, and that were like very true to life. And I think most of their headphones are like that. Like, and I've had like AKG. I bought the AKG open back headphones. Those are great for like being able to hear around you, but also great sound quality. Just like has a good sound stage and makes things sound like they're kind of in front of you and not like inside your brain. These make everything sound like they're inside your head. Like almost like a bone conduction type of headphone.
It's perfect for drowning the voices out that are already in there.
So many of them. So many different kinds too. Depends on what time of the year it is. What kind of voices are in there. Just what month is it? I can tell you what kind of voices are in there around this time. But that's what I think is more valuable to me at this point, is that I think the thing that I always cite, and this is what is starting to annoy me, is that I'll talk to somebody who is like super frugal. But here's the difference. Frugal and cheap are actually two completely different concepts. And the analogy that people always use when they talk about stuff like this is the boot analogy. There's this, I think it was an economist who wrote this little parable, but what it essentially boils down to,
parable.
What it essentially boils down to is how poor people stay poor and how the rich stay rich. And what it comes to, and it comes down to a lot of things, but one of the biggest things that it comes down to is the ability to buy something that lasts a long time. So when that comes down to the biggest parts of it, which is like investment, and then it comes down to the smallest parts of it, which is just products. And the product thing is where the boot thing comes in. A poor guy has to get boots for his job. Like he's a construction worker or whatever, something that requires a good pair of boots that you're wearing for a really long time. And in fact, you can apply this to anything. You bought an amazing pair of headphones for a rather expensive or relatively expensive price. And those headphones are going to last you through at least 3 product cycles before anything needs to be replaced on them, or you're going to be spending more money than they cost to begin with, right? So that's like, it's like a car. It's just like anything else. Eventually, you're going to have a return on investment when something quote unquote pays for itself. But that doesn't really exist either.
Yeah,
but
as a pair of headphones pay for themselves, they don't.
No, it doesn't, especially in something like this. So whether it's boots, whether it's headphones, whatever, the person who goes out and buys the pair of boots. So like in this example, we'll say it's a construction worker. He goes and buys a pair of $230 Red Wing boots with a steel toe in them. These are boots that are built to last, and again, they last at least 3 to 4, if not more, product cycles depending on the use case. The poor person doesn't have the money right now to buy that. They're going to go out and they're going to buy the $50 pair of boots that they will have to throw out in a year because they've been worn through, the sole fucking compresses, the stitching is starting to come out, whatever. They'll do that 4 times before they realized if they had just waited or even just try to do something like, and this applies to credit, this applies to anything. If you buy them out front and pay them off, if it's a good quality product, you're better off instead of trying to buy something right now that fits your needs and is just going to get destroyed. And obviously that's an ideal scenario. There are people out there that are never going to be able to follow this principle, but regardless of what the intention is, that is by most economists' standards why someone who buys product out there in a space is going to stay poor, is because they spend in quantity over time rather than quality over one period of time. That's why. And I think, to me, I've bought so much bullshit over the years where I just wanted that thing, right? I could apply it to anything. I could apply it to musical instruments. If I had
what? I don't know.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you were breaking up. I didn't hear that. What was that last
Dylan,
one?
if anything, if we were to learn anything from one another about the purchase of musical instruments, it's this. In my past, for as many musical instruments as you've purchased over the past years, very few of them have failed, or at least depending on your definition of failure. Because if they failed in a sense where you phased them out of a workflow, or not even that, they've become relatively obsolete in the scope of what's available now, or whatever that is. That's still even very few, because you could more than likely take out any piece of any instrument that you have, any piece of equipment you have, turn it on, hook it back up, it's still going to work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Relatively.
The only thing that's ever broken was the drum pad, the little the Korg. You remember the Korg? You remember the Korg? How they used to do those like little tiny? I think they still do them. Like there's the mixer, then there's the little piano and the little drum pad. I had the drum pad, or no, it was a Kain.
The nano,
it was a little
the
Akai,
nano
I think.
drums.
Yeah, something like it was one of those. And it was my fault. I just bent the USB in it and I broke it. So I mean that was on me.
So that's the thing, is that stuff like that's different. But I think
the only thing.
So that's the difference, right? You are going to have your profit, your I can't say the name of the other one.
Sub-fatty?
Yeah, you're going to have your profit, you're going to have the sub-fatty, you're going to have those forever. Those are two analog instruments that have baseline workmanship quality that to most players, to most people who collect or buy instruments, are timeless, whether or not you bought them as like a new boutique or the vintage version. Most people are going to say that buying a new boutique is like vastly better. In the case of like something like a Juno or any of those like old, like super sought after like 80s keyboards, like any of those things, the polyphonic keyboards, like that stuff people still want. It's kind of like Herman Miller chairs. There was a guy who was on Antiques Roadshow with one of those Eames lounge chairs. These fucking chairs, everybody fucking wants them. They're mid-century modern chairs. Everybody's losing their panties over mid-century modern furniture, myself included. It's really fucking nice furniture. But the thing is, for all the furniture nerds out there or whatever, there's just as many people who They want the original. I want the original Eames, and I'm not going to stop until I get it. They're $7,000, $8,000 chairs, up to $10,000 if you have, proof of certain things about the chair, right?
Oh,
Who
just
made
put
it,
your ass
when it
on
was
it.
made. You just sit in that motherfucker. It's a showpiece in your living room. Now, here's the thing. They're not going as far as to say that if you spent $2,000 to $3,000, or even sometimes as low as like $700 or $800 on one of the reproduction chairs, that's a better buy. It's not. Those chairs suck. Just like anything else, if you buy it as turbo discount, you're going to get what you pay for. However,
Oh, $800 for a chair still seems like a
that
lot.
is still steep as fuck. But here's what we're talking about. We're talking about a proprietary thing, a process of making this chair, and a chair that will last forever, and it is going to get better with age because
Okay.
it's made with materials that are going to start to look really fucking awesome once you start. It's made with like real leathers and real woods. It's made with like awesome molded plywood. They use like this big proprietary process of like 1,000 layers of plywood, and the shit is all bent like to shape so that it's. I'll show you a picture of it later. But anyway, the thing is that this guy brought an original one into Antiques Roadshow, and they were like, so here's the thing about this. Most of the time when you see some shit on Antiques Roadshow, if somebody brings in the original version of something and somebody brings in the reproduction of something, even if it's made by the same people, the old one is always going to be more expensive. People want the old real made by the same people. But here's the fun part with the Eames chairs. Nobody gives a fuck because they've continued to make them since they were old. It wasn't like they like stopped making them for a really long time and then somebody just bought the plans for them and started making them again. Charles and Ray Eames sold the plans to the chair to Herman Miller because that was the first company that ever sold their products commercially. When they died, the estate didn't buy back the plans. Herman Miller still makes the fucking chairs, and they still cost the same amount of money. They still cost like that, a unbelievable amount of money. It's like, I think it's like $5,000 or $6,000. Guy brings in an old one that they made that still got the serial number from Charles and Ray Eames made this chair. Brings it in, and they're like, it's worth the same as if you bought one today. And you're kind of like, what the fuck? Like, that's one thing where you're like, you're never gonna know. You never know if something you buy now is gonna have that same value.
Yeah, I guess at that point you're just paying for the serial number.
Mm-hmm.
If
It's
if you
genuinely the only consideration.
yeah.
And that's the thing. What you've bought with the Sub Fatty is an instrument that has in the blood of the instrument the same schematic circuitry that was created when they did the original one. But the best part about it is that they've learned a lot. Most people who make instruments understand that there's something to be learned, even because it would be stupid
Hell,
for you
they
to have
even
so much reverence for an instrument that you're like, we're not going to update any of the internals. We're going to use all. It's like, you're stupid.
they even learned from this one. They made a better version of the Sub Fatty. The Sub 37 is a more it's like a better version of it.
Well, that's what
But
I
it's still
think
like the
that people
same.
are losing out on. Again, if you have so much reverence for the past, there are people on eBay buying these half broke ass Junos and these fucking Oberheim OBX, like trying to get that original thing. It's like, look, yeah, okay. I watched a guy on Reverb the other day do all of the sounds from Bruno Mars, right?
Yeah.
He's
Synth
did that
sounds
Bruno
of
Mars,
he does
all
the
the
whole
synth sounds
series.
guy. That was a good episode because what it sort of illustrated was most of the time you're going to be able to get there with plugins or boutique synths, however it is that you want to do that. And funnily enough, he was mentioning during that whole sequence, he's like, we're going to do the horn sounds now, the computerized horns. He's like, I would guess that this was an Oberheim or this was a like a Prophet, like an old one or whatever.
I forgot
But
what
he
he said.
said
Oh, Juno. It came from. It was a Juno.
either
No, a Jupiter.
there's a couple
Sorry,
of them.
it was one of the Jupiters. JP8, I think, or 6.
So he was like, but get on the Prophet because it's going to make this sound. It has most of the stuff that's going to make this sound. And he went back to the Prophet over and over, even prefacing it by saying they more than likely made this on an OBX or a Juno or a Jupiter or whatever.
A lot of times, that's just what studios have.
Yeah. Well, and also there's a lot of sounds that kind of overlap on some of these systems, especially when you have that much control over your, I mean, especially when you're talking about it, when you're like, look, it's literally math. It's literally waves. It's literally creating oscillations of sound waves to create a sound. You put it through an envelope, and then you can put it through a filter. And there's all different ways of combining all those together to eventually make what is probably the same sound mathematically across multiple pieces of analog equipment or digital or whatever happens to be. So for everybody to get their panties all in a bunch about like, you're not using it's like, wow, we've come too long of a way for people to get all worked up.
But there's merit to that argument though, because it's all about since it is math, it's all about the circuitry inside the system. So even though mathematically, it mathematically is the same waveform that you would get out of an OBX, like an Oppenheimer or something. The fact that maybe the OBX tends to one of the oscillators tends to slip every like a certain number of wave
function.
I can't think of the word. Like a cycle, like a wave cycle, so,
right?
Like every like certain amount of cycles, it slips out of sync or something. So it gives you that flavor. People use the Juno because it has a certain chorus in it that even when they remade it, the Juno, it just doesn't have the same. Well, because they did it digital. For the
and
Juno,
that's
the boutique Juno there. They it's like it has a similar sound, but there's the people that are really into it can tell that it's not the same chorus, and that's why they want the original one. Is because it has this chorus in it that was not in any other keyboard.
It's just like how they put an actual spring reverb inside of that a very recent the grandmother, and it's like people are so dedicated to creating these sounds, these very much timeless sounds, that they're willing to do anything to get as close as they can to it. Like two of the best examples of it are like guitarists. The two guitarists that I always think of when I think about like sounds that nobody can recreate, which is Eddie Van Halen and Brian May. They're two of the guitarists that for some or most, nobody can really figure out how to do it, especially Eddie Van Halen, because he was a very technically minded guitarist. The guitars he made, first of all, we are talking about two guys who made their own guitars and played them, recorded them, created the sounds that they're known for with them. That was the first step of it. But then Eddie went even further. So he's like, okay, first, I don't like the way that this guitar is acting or feeling or sounding or anything. So I'm going to like hollow it out. I'm going to put this certain type of pickup in it. And you know what else too? I'm going to make it even harder, and I'm going to hand wind them. So he would hand wind his own pickups to create this very like distinct, what they always referred to, or what Van Halen always referred to as the Brown sound. And Brian May was a very similar sort of profile. And also to say to Eddie Van Halen's point, he made his own pedals, and he also modified his amp heads. He would overload them. So he would basically get in there. He would put larger tubes in. He would put different circuitry in. So he would overload his signals so that when he feeds back, he's literally feeding back like an overloaded signal into an already overloaded cabinet most of the time. And so Brian May was very similar. He created the Red Special. It's made out of a certain type of wood. It has certain pickups in it. He's modified certain things.
The pickups are certain distance away from each other. There's certain distance away from the strings.
Right, and your string height and all of these things, they're very important. But then, also the type of like, so what people try to do is they're like, MXR is going to make the EVH pedal that's going to make you sound like Eddie Van Halen. It's not going to happen for you, because all they're doing is giving you the stock pedals that he may or may not have used with the same. They don't know what he did. How are you going to be able to buy? The closest you're ever going to get is if you get Eddie's, like the one that Charvel came out with, the Charvel like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
You're gonna try to get that. You're gonna get the MXR pedals, all of those pedals that he used, and you're gonna look at his rig rundowns, and you're gonna try to do the research, and then you're gonna get the heads and the cabs that they ended up making from his original specifications. And then, it's all secondhand knowledge until you get to the point where you're like, I can sound like Eruption, kinda. Lightning in a bottle is kind of the phrase that comes to mind when it comes to a lot of this stuff. It's like you have someone who is a blip on the radar. Again, we could talk about many, many other ones. Jimi Hendrix is a great example of this. There's a lot of stuff that's happening with his rig and all of that stuff that's people aren't really able to sort of comprehend what the sound profile is. So that's the important part about this buy expensive thing, is what I'm trying to bring it around to, is there's a cost benefit analysis to certain things, especially if it's things that you get a lot of enjoyment out of. I think that's the most important part of this. Is I tried for years to do the budget, whatever that means, like the budget, get it right now stuff that would like, so a good example of it is my DJ controller. It's still working. It works well. It does exactly what someone would want it to do within the confines of a 4-channel solution, right? There's certainly the CDJs out there that's the holy grail. That's the thing that everybody knows is going to do what you want it to do. But in the context of like a $600 solution, which is expensive, it's extremely expensive. It's one of the most expensive things I've ever purchased. I mean, I've built my computer for a little bit more money than that, and I've, odds and ends, bits and bobs of things. Easily, it's the most expensive non-instrument that I've right. Oh, I mean, I'm saying instruments. It's easily the most expensive thing that you wouldn't even necessarily call an instrument that I've ever purchased. And then looking at these new versions of it with the haptic drive and all of this new shit that they're coming out with, which I also found extremely appealing. That new one, the new fucking native, the MK3 or whatever it is for the
that sounds right.
The new controller. Oh boy, I mean, there's stuff on there where I was like, man, that's really what I'm looking for. Like, especially the haptic drive, and also how it gives you the bumps when you hit your fucking cue points. Oh, good lord, because it's spinning and you can do real scratching on it, and it's going to stay in time because it's going to keep spinning. But also now, when you're rewinding your song, it's going to give you the bump when you hit your cue point, and then it'll stop on it. So it'll literally just like put itself in the groove. Like if you don't have it playing, you're just going to rewind that shit. It's going to bump. You're like, there it is. You're going to leave it. And then you can fucking buzz it right back in when you. So there's stuff on there that they're like innovating. And I was like, how much does it cost? And it's like, oh no, it's like $1,000. It's like, fuck.
That's how much those always cost though,
with anything motor.
Yeah, the motorized ones, like the new mark.
That's expensive. Doing shit like that is fucking expensive to get it into something like that. And so that's, I mean, that what I have now has lasted me. It gets the job done, and it's actually made me money. Like legitimately. It's allowed me to not be DJ Spotify, but also be in my mind, like head and shoulders above what a lot of wedding DJs are doing out there. Or whatever it is, or just being a DJ, bedroom DJ, or whatever it is that you're doing, to be able to sort of work with music and be a little bit creative. It's probably the best of both worlds. It's inexpensive out in terms of the world that's out there of DJ equipment, and then it's also a pretty well put together system. It feels good. It's got a good layout.
It's the Hannah Montana of DJ controllers.
Dude, if that's my whole thing,
best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. But like, and then on the flip side of that, I've bought some shit that is completely stupid that I never understood why I bought it. Like one of the best examples of it is the tweaker. I don't know if you remember when I bought that. I was under the delusion that like I would put in the time.
I showed it to you.
Oh yeah.
I was looking at it. I'm like, bro, this seems cool. Like, look at this thing. It's like
it's a MIDI controller, and it's a thing that you can sort of haphazardly map out to Traktor. It's like, all right, I guess I'll give it a shot. Which, here's to the credit, though. Here's the credit where the credit's due on that deal. I think what I discount a lot of times in terms of buying the cheap shit first really quickly is that you learn. Like, I still have some of the cheap shit that I've bought in the past. And what it reminds me is that there was a barrier to entry that I might not have crossed if I hadn't have bought this bullshit in the beginning. I DJ'd with that controller a few times. What I did like about it was that you had that almost keys and crates style sample control, because you could like drum out samples, because the pads were very similar to like an fucking MPK type of pad. They were a little squishier. But you could legit, like, if you wanted to get a little nuts, you could drum out samples or drum out cues. So you could cue things up. You had more cues too. So you could drum up cues on the little buttons or on the big buttons or whatever you wanted to do. And you can map it out however you want. And the fades were pretty good and everything else. It had a nice feel to it. Had a good big jog wheel on the top that I kind of miss sometimes for going through songs and stuff. The way that you do it on Traktor seems like it's like, what knob do we put this on? Like you trigger it and it's like, that's a weird. It doesn't give me the kind of like real nice control that you could get from like a big jog. So there's things about it that I really like that I wish I had on newer controllers, but ultimately it's a matter of like learning curve or whatever. But again, having the stupid shit sort of makes me appreciate that eventually, if I'm saving up, I'm going to get the good shit. But then also I bought a set of Yamaha Club Series speakers that have served me so well, like to a degree to which I've never had a piece of equipment that is so worthy of like reverence. Like the way you can they come up, if you're EQing them correctly, they don't break. Usually it's the software that's the fucking problem. It's never these speakers. These speakers are always on point. And the mixer is a big part of that. That's the thing that I think actually the mixer probably cost more money than my decks did. The mixer cost $700. That's a huge. I mean, I've paid it off by. I bought it with my own money. I didn't put all of that on credit. But over the period of time that I've used this to do gigs and stuff, I've paid for it a couple of times. But it's never let me down. It always sounds incredible. It's so easy to get everything fucking started. It never blows out. It never overheats. It never causes me any issues. Mics always sound great. When Corey was at the wedding and he was having problems with his own like little amp thing that he runs his vocals and his piano through. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that when we had to run him through it? I had to give him like 2 minutes of mic check. and he sounded great instantly. I did it at an art gallery where they were having a problem with it. Like when I did the gallery shows over at Spring Street Gallery, they were having a guy play before me, acoustic, and I had set up the big rig in there, and they were like, can we give him some amplification? I was like, yeah. He had his microphone with him. I was like, hang on a second.
His own amplification?
No, he was just a dummy and was just thinking that
you just say that to them. No, did he?
Did he? Then I can't help him.
I can't help him. Those speakers are just gonna have to stay off, unless you want to pay me $5.
That's the thing, is that when your equipment bails other people out, you know you got a good set. Like, it's really solid. I bought it from a pastor at a church. He met me in the parking lot of my work. And I knew how much these speakers cost to begin with. They're $350 a piece. They're not cheap. Obviously, you can go out and buy a Bose L1 system for like $1,000, which that's, one thing. They're more compact. But for something that I literally throw these fuckers around. They're so heavy. I mean,
you can't throw them around.
No, it's not like I'm gonna take the little sticks off the L1 off the top of the sub and just throw that shit in the back of my car. They're fragile. They sound ear perfect, but if you tune these speakers in a little bit, 15-inch sub on the bottom, really nice tweeter on the top, you're gonna get that 90s club sound out of them, because that's what they are. They're probably the most ubiquitous club speakers out there. You're going to see those in more dance clubs being the standard. And I think they still make them. It's the I think it's the S115V is what the model of it is. They make them the same way. It's the big particle board cabinet with that nice grip all around it. And they got the things in the top to put the chains if you're going to hang them or whatever. These are they are roadworthy, built to fucking last. It's one of those things that you could argue what we just argued, which is like, I would rather have these old speakers with a nice mixer than almost anything else. I've considered the L1s in the past. I've considered systems of its type. I've considered those Electro Voice packages where you could get the Electro Voice, speaker sub combos. I'm sure they sound fucking amazing. But the thing is, sometimes I just think like, is it going to be better? Am I going to be able to get away from what I have now? Because I genuinely love those speakers. They're fucking amazing. And I think it's just because they're so consistent. Like, again, most of the problems that I have with anything technical never come down to those. They fucking ride hard no matter what you give them. So if anything, that's what I'd spend my money on. Is shit like that.
Socks?
Yes. I would spend my money on socks. Darn tough merino wool socks, because they're moisture wicking and they have a lifetime warranty. That's the thing too, is that buy for lifetime warranty. Buy for shit like that. LL Bean, stuff like that. Because even if it's not good right now, you're going to be able to send it back and they're like, you got a hole in your sock? All right, we'll give you I mean, it's really just buying a subscription to socks. But you buy the first pair of socks for the subscription price. Yeah, my socks are, $15 to $20 a pair, but when I send one back in, they're going to give one back to me. I mean, that's the end of the story. Anyway. That was my coffee-fueled discussion about the value of products.
Consumerism.
Consumerism.
'Tis the season.
'Tis the season to be a consumer. Speaking of, I was talking to you about the PlayStation Classic, that they had the discount on it, but turns out on Amazon that shit is absolutely sold out. What I wanted to gauge from you was, tell me, okay, so did you know what games were on it? Did you ever see the list or the line? I knew a couple of them.
Do I know what's on it?
Well, not all of it, but I mean, were you familiar with what was on the system and whatnot when they came out with it? Was on the PS1 Classic?
I don't know what you're asking me. Was it like did I know?
Do you know the games that are on it?
Oh, do like if when I see the list, do I recognize
Yeah.
them? Okay. Yes.
Well, not that you recognize them, just that you were aware of them or what games are actually on it.
Yeah, like when
so
you say Cool Borders 2, I know that's a snowboarding game.
Yeah.
When you say Destruction Derby, I know that I had that game. When you say Twisted Metal,
Okay, now hang on. Slow down there, Tex. Slow down there, Tex. Because I kind of wanted to just gauge,
when
like,
I say Tekken 3. I know what Tekken 3 is.
I wanted to just sort of get like, so Battle Arena Toshinden. I'd heard of it back in the day. I've never played it.
I'm pretty sure I had it because it came in a long box. You know those? You remember those long boxes? I'm pretty sure it was a long box game, and I know I had a couple of them, and I'm pretty sure that was one of them.
So Cool Borders 2. I remember Cool Borders. I was more of a because I had an N64 pretty close to when I had a PS1. Like
boy?
It was, I was
snowboard kids.
Oh, 1080 all the way, dude. I love 1080 so much. In fact, I'll probably get an emulator of it when we stop talking, and I'll probably play some of that. I'd like to. It's been a while. I'd like to see what's going on with some of this shit. But so Destruction Derby, I remember renting it. I never had it.
Yeah, I had it.
I think Final Fantasy VII, obviously. It's one of those things that's so beloved. But I never could. I mean, Final Fantasy as a franchise, I can't. It's just, again, I mean, we talked about a lot of times on this where I'm not the target consumer for that type of thing, and I don't know if I'd ever be able to morph my brain to be able to do that.
Hours.
Oh, holy fuck! Grand Theft Auto. I remember renting that, like the original top-down Grand Theft Auto.
I had it on PC. I played 2 more on PC than.
And I mean 3, we're talking about a revelation on 3.
Yeah, but
when they come out with that PS2 classic, Dylan.
Maybe they'll do it right.
Maybe they will. And I think everybody got their titties in a twist when the list of these games came out. And I could kind of see why they did, because it was missing, some of the stuff that it was just because they couldn't get the licensing or whatever the reason was. But I don't really feel like this list is really that bad. Right. That's what I'm saying, is that Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, is that where we're really trying to hang our hat on what's missing on this system? I mean, if it were me,
Tony Hawk,
I wouldn't have necessarily wanted director's cut. I would have wanted 2 for Resident Evil.
You're getting Resident Evil 2 in a month.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Oh, I'm so fucking excited. I was reading up on it today. I January fucking something.
2 months, but next month actually.
Yeah, January something is when it's coming.
It looks like it's fucking March outside. It's brown and muddy.
Today's weather report is brought to you by Resident Evil Director's Cut. And once again, we brought up Resident Evil, so there's that. Just wait until now. Here's the other one. If we're gonna make it about everything that I ever talk about, is Castlevania's not on here.
Yeah,
but
you can play that.
I sure can. Of course. Yeah. That
version.
And Bloodstained, that's going to be sometime, I don't know, maybe in the next 25 years, I'll probably get Bloodstained at some point. So Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube.
That's one of the ones I don't recognize.
Jumping Flash, I don't recognize either.
Yeah, that was a really, really 3D platformer.
Metal Gear Solid, obviously, that speaks for itself. I mean, that was another game where that wasn't speaking to me when I was a kid. Like, that wasn't something that I had to have. Like, it never struck my fancy. I mean, even though I was playing Resident Evil Director's Cut, it still, even though it was a relatively adult game. Yeah, right. That's what's weird about it, is that for some reason I drew the line at stealth espionage fucking tactical shit. But at the same time, I'm using tank controls to kill zombies.
What do they call it?
Tactical espionage action.
Yeah, tactical espionage action. Let me just grab the fucking
So that is what it is. Mr. Driller. I feel like I'm familiar with it, but again, it never ever came across my radar.
It's what's it?
Um,
It's Mr. Do. No, not Mr. Do.
Dig Dug.
Dig Dug. It's Mr. Doug's brother, Mr. Driller.
Now, funnily enough, this next the other one makes me think about another one because it kind of exists in the same space as Oddworld. One of those like very critically acclaimed games that like everybody always thought was fucking amazing. I think if I rented it, I don't remember, but the other one that it makes me think of is Legacy of Kain. That was a game that
Is that a PS2 game though? Soul Reaver?
The first
Oh,
one
wait.
wasn't, but there was one out. Oh boy,
Wait,
Soul Reaver
is
was
Soul
for
Re-
PlayStation 1, and then there was another one that was for PS2.
It's Soul Reaver's Legacy of Kain, right? That's the
Maybe
crazy to think that's one game, right?
eh, there's the okay. Hang on, let me just tell you what it is. Okay, here we go. Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was released in 1996 on the PlayStation. And then Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver was 99 for the PlayStation and then was ported to Dreamcast in 2000.
Okay, so
I
okay,
played
it is
Soul
the
Reaver.
same game, Legacy of Kain.
They're the
Soul
same.
Reaver.
It's weird. Yeah, that's a weird thing. And then you had
I didn't know Amy Hennig was a producer on it. She directed it too, huh?
What was the hell was she known for?
Uncharted.
Oh yeah, that's right. Holy shit, she was a Naughty Dog. Totally forgot.
I mean, other stuff too, but that's the big boy.
And then you had Soul Reaver 2 and then Blood Omen 2 was for PlayStation.
You probably would have recognized Battlefield Hardline she was a writer for. That's probably the game you were thinking of.
Oh my god.
That's a joke. That's a joke. I was joking.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's a bad joke.
So, but the thing is, what I know about Legacy of Kain is that it's a bad game. I remember it more fondly than it really should be. So there's that. So the next one, Rayman, also a great game. One of those games that took advantage of a system that could, in the same way that Castlevania did. It's a 3D accelerated system, but they chose to do a 2D game on it and make it look better. That's what I always liked about PS1 was that there was some games that people were making for it at the time. And it kind of paved the way for what the revival of pixel art and Metroidvania games are today. People remembering that you could have like an awesome 3D accelerated game, but it doesn't have to be this big polygonal fucking mess. You could just make a really good 3D accelerated platformer. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Polygonal.
Well, it's like Giant Bomb reviewed that Monster Boy game or whatever I was watching today. Did you watch the quick look of that?
No.
Give it a look because
I know what it is. It's like this spiritual sequel to Dragon's Trap, Monster World the Dragon's Trap.
Well, they said it. Like, they said that the last one was like for Sega Mega Drive or Sega Master System.
But they redid Wonder Boy, the Dragon's Trap for Switch and everything. Yeah, like they remade it.
Well, the reason why I say this is because it's a game that, to me, when I was watching it being played, it's very simple. It kind of controls like Rogue Legacy, where it's just like sword strike, and you have like one combo. But the look of it, holy shit, it looks like so sharp and like pretty, and the fucking colors are great. Like that's the thing. People are making great games, great platformers, just understanding that you have the power. It doesn't necessarily mean that you got to push it to its fucking limit. You can easily make like an amazing experience out of the hardware that you have, but just a little bit, just pared down a little bit, pulled back. So that's kind of like what Rayman always was for me. It was just a way to like create a really pretty game, but it was sort of always like rooted in that 2D style. But so Resident Evil, yeah, we know about that. Jill, don't open that door, whatever.
Master lockpicking, sure, whatever.
Master, yeah, sure, yeah, Revelations Persona. which,
It's the first
you know,
Persona game.
what?
It's the first Persona game. Persona
I
1.
don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know anything about Persona.
it's the first Persona game. I'm telling you. That wasn't a
Okay,
question.
cool. Oh, all right, fine. R4 Ridge Racer Type 4, I had that game. I was big into racing games because I remember I would always go over to my dad's friend's house, and he was like obsessed with racing games. He had every Gran Turismo, he had every Ridge Racer, he had every like racing game that came out for any of those platforms. And I would play them, and I would be like, that's like what I fucking want for Christmas. Like, I want all the racing games. So that's that shit. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't know.
It's a puzzle fighter.
Sure is. Syphon Filter. Again, another one of those games in the Metal Gear Solid category that it wasn't speaking to me as a gamer of the time. Tekken 3, on the other hand, yes, that was speaking to me. As a kid that was going over to like my cousin's house, and he had the old PS1, he had Tekken, he had all those games. I did at one point, and I lost track of it. I do not know where it is. But I did have Marvel vs. Capcom. We talked about that last week. But I did have it, and that was I think easily one of my favorite games ever. I loved that fucking game. Rainbow Six again. I feel like there's some redundancy in this list to me. Like Rainbow Six, Syphon Filter, Metal Gear Solid. Those are all games where it was just like, it's kind of an adult game. A lot of people remember it very fondly, but for me, it was just like, I remember like Tekken 3, Resident Evil, Cool Border. Like, I remember all those more fondly. And actually, Twisted Metal very, very fondly. I remember, this is such a weird memory. You ever have weird memories where you don't quite know if it's like
Real?
what? Yeah. I have one where I remember, I want to say it was me and my dad, but I remember this weird thing where we were at an RV park when I was a kid, and the kind of RV park that it was more of like on the line of like, at the time it was the 90s, and like it was more like glamping than it was anything else. It was where like people had these like fucking crazy tour bus fucking RVs with the both sides pull out and all that shit. And it was a fucking million of them. And I remember my dad was friends with somebody. I don't know. It was either a friend or a family member. We went to we were like tenting because we were poor. But we went to their RV, and they literally had a TV with a PS1 hooked up with Twisted Metal that I ended up playing with this kid for like 3 hours in an RV in the middle of the fucking forest. I was playing Twisted Metal for hours. And that's just a weird memory that I had.
Yeah. Sounds like a fun time though.
Oh, it sure is, dude. Nothing says nature like piloting a fucking ice cream truck with a flamethrower on it through a weird battle arena. And then, weirdly enough, the last entry in this particular product is probably one of the other weirdest ones for me, is Wild Arms, because my dad bought me Wild Arms out of nowhere for a Christmas one year. Like, he had bought Resident Evil, all the 3 of the Resident Evils, because we loved them so much. Like, over time, like we had gotten them, just past release on most of those. But one Christmas, he bought me like a lot of games, and most of them were super cheap. Like, basically just padding out. Like, we were still playing Resident Evil. We were still playing like all these games.
Let's try these ones.
But he bought me like when Castlevania came out on Greatest Hits, it became a lot cheaper, so he bought that. And then when Wild Arms came out in the same way, it was a lot cheaper, even though that's a 2-disc game. That's a huge fucking game.
Yeah. And definitely not one of your types of games.
It wasn't, but weirdly enough, I really enjoyed that game. And I think I would like to revisit it just to see what it was that maybe made it a little bit different. I mean, it was a really dense RPG, and I was a kid.
Maybe it was
like playing an RPG. Huh?
Maybe it was like the first one that you played, so...
That's probably it. Where I was just like, this is mostly reading. uh,
This
but
is mostly reading.
that's the cover. The cover art on it is like IGN review. This is mostly reading. Sold. Uh, but so that game was a little weird, and then like he also bought me Skeleton Warriors. I don't know if
Nope.
Skeleton Warriors was weird because the way that they captured the character models for that game was very similar to what they did for Mortal Kombat, but it wasn't real people. It was clay models. It's kind of like Clay Fighter. The guy in the game, most of the stuff in the game is like that. It's all armature based, like little sculptures of things, like kind of like Coraline
Sure.
or like your Paranorman and shit like that. It looks real, but it's not so real. It's like half 3D, half clay type of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Skeleton Warriors looked like. It was a side scroller platform beat 'em up, kind of like Bionic Commando. That's kind of how it felt, but with swords, it was like very medieval. Speaking of medieval. Every so often, I'll have the phrase come into my head. Sir Daniel Fortescue, back from the dead once again. That's a phrase that, because I heard it 15,000 fucking times playing that game. I believe they're doing that again.
They're doing a remaster of it, yeah.
They're doing a remaster. I fucking died when I saw that come on. That was the last game that I ever would have thought
You and
that
everyone
would have
else.
but it's one of my most beloved games because the style of it transcended its technical limitation, you know what I mean? But even then, like it still was a very technically good game.
Yeah.
Like it felt good. It's a little weird. It's a little wonky. The control scheme is admittedly it's a little strange, and how they're going to treat that with the remaster is going to be something to be seen. Like I'm kind of peeking at the announced trailer on it just to see like what, you know, how they've sort of improved it a little bit. And they've at the very least, they've made his sword striking less jerky, which is what the first game was. It was literally like your elbow was on like a pivot and it was like,
yeah, I remember,
fucking waving around like really fucking fast, and the hitboxes were really bad. So at least they've gotten that part down where they're like, let's slow his shit down a little bit and make the combat a little bit more like a what do you call it? The what the fuck was that that real recent beat 'em up? War Mastered edition. What was the Darksiders? Like they're kind of like, let's make it more like a regular beat 'em up rather than whatever they thought that was in the BS1 era. So that I'm excited about for this next year. That's going to be really cool to play that game again. And I like what they've done with the environments. They've fully realized how whimsical everything is, and they've made it just as like, you know, it's got that very Tim Burton-y, very Aardman like whimsical thing going on. I always thought I always thought it was really funny too. It's actually a legitimately funny game. So I hope they retain a lot of, like, you know, with the voice acting. I hope they've sort of done well with it. Anyway, nostalgia.
Sure.
That was the part of the podcast is brought to you by nostalgia. So, playing any good games lately other than the PS1 Classic?
I didn't even play that.
I know. I'm going to play some good games. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get a PSX fucking emulator, and I'm just going to download all these games just to I can see how bad they are. Well, the other thing is that I've been sitting around. I hooked up my PS4 for like the fucking first time in forever. My Switch is still sitting in its case right here. The battery's probably dead. There it is. I really have seen so much that I'm just fucking really, really excited for, and I'm not doing anything about that. That's the trouble of the whole thing. that I'm literally just not. I get so excited about stuff, and then it's just do nothing about it. That's the bitch of the whole thing, isn't it? Today I'm thinking like I wanna make like Christmas crack for everybody. That's gonna be like my gift, my Christmas gift, because I'm poor. But I'm just like, I don't want to do any of
I don't
that. I
want to do
don't
that.
want to get the oven on. I don't want to try to. I'm not going to try to make caramel like to melt on this. And it's really one of the easiest desserts to make, or a like thing to make in the entire face of the planet.
Nah.
It's really not complicated. But I'm just like,
It
it's
requires
not
you to
gonna.
exist, which is complicated enough.
Yeah, it's just for me to be in the kitchen and like have to like fucking
I'm gonna watch
open stuff and make
Christmas
a mess.
Vacation and wrap presents.
That's what you're gonna do today?
Yeah,
Man, I can stop it. I can only get so erect. Sounds so lovely and magical.
it's gonna be magical. All right, Brent.
I feel like I want to pop on Christmas Vacation. Maybe I'll do that, make some
I
Christmas
watch
crack. I'll
I
pop it on
watch
in the
that
background.
every year. I watch Christmas Vacation. It's
Maybe
my
I'll pop the
number
old
one.
iPad out, put it in the kitchen, and toss it over where I'm not going to splatter chocolate all over it
There
and
you go.
fucking turn on Christmas Vacation. Get it rolling. I should put a TV in the kitchen. That's the thing. I have the kind of kitchen now where you could put a TV in. It's like I'm rich.
Buy one of
Where
those
like those
small
rich
flat
people that have got
screens.
the little tiny flat screens. You get one for like fucking $70.
Yeah.
Or I should get that Lenovo fucking thing that they came out with. That Lenovo like smart Alexa. What the fuck was it? Lenovo smart screen.
Screen.
I'm sure that'll give it to me if I say that. Smart display. Lenovo smart display. Looks like a tablet and acts like one too is the first thing that comes up. It's
Yeah, but
$200.
that's so small. You could
Yeah, that's true.
you get a
If
big
I were
TV,
smart,
you could get like a little TV and just stick a Fire Stick in the side of it.
or you could get the fucking one that Toshiba sells. That's like the Fire TV. Put it in your kitchen TV. It looks like it's literally built. Like if they didn't put like a splatter screen on this thing, you'd think that's a fucking kitchen TV.
Just get a
I
piece
think
of
it's the
plexiglass and put it
Fire
over the
TV.
front of it.
Toshiba Fire TV. They have a 43-inch one. That's a little too big. I'm looking for like a third, like a.
Yeah,
Or you know what?
20-inch?
You know what I could even do? I got a 27-inch Acer monitor that I don't use anymore. Pop that bitch on the counter. Stick a fucking Fire TV to the back of it with a piece of Velcro or whatever, or just the power supply, and then just like pop that shit in. I think it's got a USB. Actually, let's see. If it does have a USB on the back of it, I'd be fucking golden. But I'm looking for the 32-inch one. They do have one that's a 720p 32. It's $150. And it's got the Fire TV in it.
Oh, there you go.
So you just pop that bitch right in the kitchen. You'd be ready to go. I mean, and I'm sure that like you could even get one for cheaper than that. I mean, they have a dumb TV for like $100 from Scepter that's like a 32-inch TV you can put in there.
Yeah, but that
But if I
requires doing something, so
that
probably
sure
won't
is. I don't want to
happen.
do that. Dude, that's like rich people dreams. I got so many other things to do. Dude, I got these closets back here. They need cubes, dude. I gotta put 15,000 fucking cubes in these closets. I'm gonna buy those things. There's like cube units on Amazon that you can buy that are just like these like almost kind of like stretchy fabric cube unit things.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna buy about 15 million of them.
Just
The
throw them in there.
These fucking things, man. Holy shit. $20 and it's 6 cubes, and these shits will like you just snap them things together and you're off to the races. I'm gonna buy that and my fucking XL things for my for my headphones. Merry Christmas to
Merry
me.
Christmas, Brent.
I'm gonna buy like 3 sets of 6 cubes per unit, and I'll have like 15,000 cubes. They're just gonna go everywhere. And they're modular, so you can do whatever you want. You can make a staircase of cubes. You can make them all super fucking tall. You could do like 3x3. You can do anything you want. Because that shit's going to have like clothes, all my bullshit everywhere. There's nothing else I could do. Like, it feels like I'm just like, I have my clothes back here in this fucking suitcase still. I don't know what to do with anything. I have a dresser that's like over here, but Becky's using it for fucking supplies. because you can't really use it for anything else. And then I got fucking a closet in there that we're hanging shit up, but I got too many fucking clothes. Too many. I mean, you know this.
I know.
Look, Dylan, you got more clothes than anybody, and you probably wear the same 10 things all the fucking time.
Yep.
You're wearing one of them. You wear the same 5 hats and the same 10 shirts and the same fucking 5 pants.
Yeah.
That's what you got. And
That's
you got
life.
and you got about 30 pairs of each one of those things or more. That's the quandary, Dylan. Today's broadcast is brought to you by consumerism. Old smartwatches, old fucking musical instruments, and old fucking consoles. Look at this, huh? Talk about your PS1 Classic. Look what you got right there. That's the PS1 for real. Look at this, SCP-H9001. Oh, Sony Computer Entertainment America. Look at that. Can you?
Yeah, you could play full NTSC games on it, not
Dude,
the PAL versions. Amazing.
Just to press this button and feel it. Look at that come up, and then you click it down. Oh my god!
All right.
The times that were had with this, still.
We've devolved into nothing.
Let's wrap this bitch up. It's about time. I gotta go make some Christmas crack and watch Christmas with the Cranks while making Christmas crack.
You gotta watch Christmas Vacation.
I do have to watch Christmas Vacation. So that is everything that I have for today. The audio versions of this podcast are available in the description below. And if you want to watch Christmas Vacation with us, too bad, because we're probably just going to stay in our houses and fucking sit here and watch it by our lonesomes.
Yep.
We should do it on Rabbit. We should have everybody get together and watch Christmas Vacation on Rabbit. Get everybody up on the Discord and have a grand old fucking time watching it. Drink a few too many nogs with booze in it. That is
out of this.
Out of your moose head.
Yeah, it's from Christmas Vacation.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about it. That is this pop culture laced edition of the Jacket Off podcast. Have a beautiful holiday. We will see you in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. That's the podcast.
We did 2 weeks in a row, so yeah, that's about right.
2 weeks in a row. We did it, though. I am out of here.